Meet the neighbors. We were beyond excited when our new double-wide mobile home arrived in early January 1993. Sharon and I had purchased several acres of rolling Iowa pasture land, surrounded by woods with a stream. There were no neighbors in sight, which was welcome after decades of living in apartments in urban areas surrounded by a herd of other city dwellers, noise, lights, and activity. We moved in 2 weeks later, and within days, 300 field mice moved in with us. It was cold, and the heat of our home was like a beacon to the surrounding cities of mice that had been toughing out winters here for hundreds of years. Sharon shook me awake. Something is making a lot of noise in the walls. It sounds big. I saw a flash of something diving into a heating duct. No problem, just a mouse. I'll get a trap tomorrow. The mouse turned out to be a scout, and within days, the Mice Olympics were being staged within our walls. The peace and quiet of our country home had been invaded by hyperactive mice wearing heavy shoes. Sharon wanted me to use have-a-heart traps and the humane catch and release method. However, it soon became clear that dropping the mice off in remote areas gave them a chance to spread the word and gave rise to a catch, release, and then return scenario. We heard parties at night as the missing mice were reunited with their loved ones. The mice held raffles to see who would get to eat the peanut butter used in those traps and then travel round trip to new and exciting destinations. I was sure that some of the mice were winking at me as they were released. Over time, we caulked the spaces around the pipes, cables, and other gaps in our perimeter and began using traps that released the mice from the bondage of their mortal coil. Peace and sleep returned, and we celebrated our victory, not realizing that we had only won a battle and not a war, and that little mice were only a harbinger of battles to come with larger, more cunning neighbors that would soon appear with the spring. With the warmer weather, we planted 20 trees, an 800-square-foot garden, and a half-dozen flower beds. The first sign of trouble emerged 6 weeks later. I had noticed the increasing presence of rabbits and their babies when I was cutting the grass. I had always had a friendly relationship with the cute little rabbits, never imagining that once you got to know them, they had a nasty, vindictive side. Sure, there was plenty of fresh, healthy clover in our lawn that any self-respecting rabbit would be grateful for. But no, they delighted in munching on our flowers, herbs, and greens. Even if they didn't like the taste of the flowers, which we began spraying with an expensive, foul-smelling mixture, they would just nip off their heads and leave them lying there as a definitive response to our efforts at peaceful cohabitation. Initially, we didn't think that a few cute rabbits were much of a threat, and that losing a small percentage of our crop wasn't worth a fencing effort. We also thought that the rabbits would be content to just nibble here and there as a culinary experiment, and then return to their age-old, time-tested diet of pasture grass and weeds. This proved to be magical thinking. As the number of rabbits increased and our garden's bounty quickly became the most popular item on their menu, earning Restaurant of the Year honors. I discerned that fundamentally, the problem was a lack of respect due to a lack of fear. Rabbit psychology is simple. Is it safe or is it not safe? When we first arrived, the rabbits would run for the hills when we interrupted their grazing by shouting and clapping. We wouldn't see them for a day or two, but then, over time, they gradually adjusted to our benign presence and would only take a few hops away, quickly returning. Finally, they would just calmly gaze at our histrionics while chewing contentedly, as if to say, "What's up, Doc?" Generations of rabbits have now come and gone, with each new gene pool producing smarter, bolder specimens, born with a taste for the tender, fresh morsels our gardens provide, and a relish for the game we play with them and never win. I would like to say that rabbits and mice provided our most challenging neighbors, but as you went up the food chain, our new animal friends became bigger, with hooves and horns and claws and jaws. Deer, raccoon, opossums, groundhogs, coyotes, and even the occasional fox or bobcat would share the land with us or pass through it. While rabbits would slowly deplete your plantings and shrubs, deer could wipe them out overnight, and did, including a bed of hostas we'd been cultivating, thus giving new meaning to the expression, "Hasta la vista, baby." We discovered soon after arrival that we were living on a deer trail, and that despite expert knowledge to the contrary, if it's flora, deer will eat it. Also, each year in the fall, the young bucks clean their antlers by vigorously rubbing them on young trees, just like the ones we planted along the deer trail. Before we could fence them in, our new spruce and fir trees had most of their branches lopped off at an assortment of angles and configurations that from a distance resembled macabre anti-war sculptures. I have an ambivalent attitude toward fencing. Fences strike me as a defacement to the natural landscape and that which grows on it, an intrusion. The desecration of our trees and gardens by our four-legged neighbors counterbalanced this. I started with short, barely visible fences placed around the perimeter of our garden. The rabbits and the groundhogs went under it, and the deer and the raccoons went over it. Over time, each new iteration of fencing grew in height and stature. After a 6-foot plastic fence was crushed by deer leaping onto it on their way into the garden, I decided it was time to take off the gloves. I had 8-foot plastic-coated reinforced fencing shipped in from Connecticut, pressure-treated posts to hold it, and a 2-foot ditch dug under the perimeter. I purchased wire cable tested to 2,000 pounds strength and deployed it above the fence, bringing its power-packed, critter-blocking dimensions to 8 feet above ground and 2 feet below. Take that, amigos. The fence has now withheld assaults for well over 2 decades. Officials from the Iowa Department of Corrections have visited several times to gain insights into our successful fencing methods. I have deliberately not tried to calculate how much treasure has been spent in this war. I suspect we will never see a return on our investment beyond the joy of growing $20 zucchinis and tomatoes. We have established a tenuous peace with our neighbors, at least from our perspective. We tithe about 20% of our flowers and shrubs to them each year. It comes with the territory. We know that we are just visiting on their land and are grateful to have them here with us. We've grown to love their rhythms of living and one-pointed adherence to being uniquely who they are. We know that it's only a matter of time before we are gone and they remain, and that's okay.